Okay, well, great. Welcome, everyone. This is the EMCO, which one am I in? Other registries. Sorry, I've been doing these all week. Community of practice. This is the kickoff meeting that helps get EMCO actually started. So we're really glad you're all here. Looks like I'm the only IMAC member here. I think people will come in later. So are you all able to access the agenda? We had some access issues with the bigger groups, but I'm hoping with a smaller group, it'll be fine. I see. Thanks, Josh. Oh, good to see you. I'm hoping it won't be an issue with the smaller group. Okay. The first thing you will note is that there is a place right under today's agenda block that says attendees. Feel free to add your name. It just helps us know who was here in the meeting, at least synchronously. Due to the global nature of interest, which is still wild to me, in this PCC EMCO program, we anticipate having to record meetings, post them, give people time to absorb that, and then make decisions, which is a bit different for us. But that's okay. We're willing to try new things and make the experience as inclusive as possible. So more about that in a second. Okay. Right. So I'm going to attempt to take notes, but I'm running the meeting, which I find real hard to do, to talk and type at the same time. So if you are brave enough or have hands free to help me take notes, that would be greatly appreciated. I always love help taking notes. All right, well, we are a small enough group that we could actually do something that we don't get to do in the other communities of practice. We could actually do a quick round of introductions if you all are okay with that. So I am Jennifer Liss. I am the PCC Identity Management Advisory Committee co-chair. I expect my other co-chair to be joining a little bit later. And I'm also a head of cataloging at Indiana University Libraries in Bloomington. Excuse me. And so IMAC is the group that has been charged to create this entity management cooperative for EMCO. So that's why I'm here today. I'm just going to go down my Zoom list, which seems to be alphabetical. So Isabella, are you comfortable in unmuting and introducing yourself? Or?
Yeah, I'm happy to go first. My name's Isabella Pilar, and I'm at the University of New Mexico, and we're part of the PCC cooperative. So I do NACO BIBCO cataloging as well. And I'm particularly interested in this because we certainly have some entity management work related to our archival finding aids that I'm hoping to delve into.
That's wonderful. Thank you. Thanks for sharing. Jamie is next on my list. If you don't mind, you can also pop things in chat if you can't unmute.
No, it's fine. It's fine. Not a problem. My desk is messy behind me, so I'm not going to unmute. Yeah, so I'm Jamie Carlstone. I work at Northwestern University Libraries. I'm the authority metadata librarian, and we're also part of the PCC program.
Wonderful. Thanks for being here. Josh is next.
Hi, so my name's Josh Hutchinson. I am using the wrong camera. So, I am Director of Technical Services at the University of Southern California in Los Angeles. And I think a couple of my colleagues have been going to some of these other introductory meetings for Wikidata 1, and we're kind of running a couple of projects right now. Like locally, we're going to have a sort of Wikidata edit-a-thon for local entities, and we're trying to think through what other projects we want to be working on using sort of other registries like ORCID and other things like that.
Wonderful. Okay, great. I love that you're also tag teaming. You're spreading out. That's smart. Okay, Mara is next on the list if you wish.
Hi, everyone. My name is Mara Kalin. I'm a catalog and metadata librarian at Beinecke Library at Yale. I'm also the metadata lead for the Black Bibliography Project. And in that capacity, I've been doing a lot of tandem creation of NACO records and Wikidata records. And so sort of thinking through the intersection of those processes is sort of what has me coming to this meeting.
Yeah, gosh, I can't wait till we get to the real meat of this. Wonderful, thank you. Okay, where are we now? Tom, if you want to introduce yourself. If not, we'll move on.
Yeah, that makes this so hard to do on the phone. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, okay. Like I had full screen and I had a min light. Okay. So, yeah, I'm a cataloger at the University of Oklahoma, but I also work with the archive space and do the metadata and entity cleanup on that for Western history collections. And so, yeah, that's in last year I started making original records for names and that, and on our site for photos on our site for people that you know, using Ancestry and stuff like that. But Family Search, I guess, is the free one. Yeah.
Right. Yes.
Oh yeah, I've been doing a lot of genealogical work. So I'm interested in doing some linked data work on those NACO records, but also for archive space.
Great. It's so good to hear that several people are interested in the intersection of archives and entity management. Wonderful. Great. Well, thank you. And thank you for dealing with phone adversity. I know having to have called in on Zoom, it's not fun. I appreciate that.
Yeah, what I like about archive space compared to MARC is it's much more linked data friendly.
Yes. Yes. We just migrated and I was just blown away by the options. It was so good. Yeah, agreed. Okay. Did I cut you off? Was that your intro?
No.
Okay. Thank you, Tom. All right, and then Tyler, if you wish.
Yeah, I'm Tyler Cunningham. I'm the catalog librarian at the University of Pittsburgh. I've also been to the ISNI session and the Wikidata session, just because I'm trying to take it all in. So same thing here. I just kind of want to see what's going on and, you know.
Yeah, that's the great thing about EMCO is that we were letting things be real fluid. And so, yeah, wonderful. Glad you're here.
Yeah, glad to be here.
Is Michael Bolam still at Pitt?
He is, yeah.
Okay, great. I think about him every once in a while, old ALA service stuff. Anyway, thank you.
Gotcha.
All right. Well, somebody. Oh, Amanda joined. Hi, Amanda. We were just doing introductions. If you wish to introduce yourself, great. If not, we'll move on.
Yeah, sure. I'm the metadata librarian at National Agriculture Library. I'm very interested in pits. You know, I'm working on pits, pits with other national libraries and the federal agencies on that. So I'm just interested in, you know, what this group are interested about, you know, other type of identifier that you would like add for your identity management portfolios. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, sure. Amanda's also a PCC IMAC member. Thanks, Amanda. Okay. Well, I'm going to run through the agenda. This is pretty informal though, so if you have questions or something, I'll try to keep an eye on chat. You can also just unmute yourself and and stop me. That's fine too. I'm flying mostly solo on this one, so I may not see chat, so just interrupt me. All right, well, I just want to remind everybody that we do have a PCC code of conduct, and that governs all sort of PCC fora, which includes webinars and meetings and listservs and things. And so we are adhering to that today. But maybe we should just dive in and talk a little bit more about some of the responsibilities and expectations that the Identity Management Advisory Committee has at least brainstormed at this point. We hope none of it is too onerous, at least at this point. We do hope that eventually each MCO member will find a home in one of these communities of practice. So this one we called Other Registries, which seems a little unfair. I wish we could have come up with a snappier name for it, but it wasn't ISNI, it wasn't Wikidata, and it wasn't the other thing. And so we needed something to call it, everything else, I guess. So no matter which one you end up in, you'll still be part of MCO. When we were trying to figure out how to structure this program, we kept thinking about all of the really useful information that came out of initiatives like the LD4 Wikidata group and some other really tightly knit, well-run communities that just generate a ton of useful, well, a lot of it's programming, but some of it's also just documentation, internal, some of it's shared. And we thought that might be a good model for us too. And so we're going to try that. So MCO is launching with right now 4 communities of practice, the ones I just mentioned, including this one, which is for everything else. So this is probably the one I have the least good idea of how it's going to play out, but that also, I think I'm choosing to be excited about that rather than alarmed, because it means that this group can play, right? We can figure out together what is useful and use those registries. And I think that's exciting. We expect all of the participants to associate with at least one community of practice. Because we are so early in MCO, the reason we called it an early adopters phase is there is pretty much no infrastructure in place. This is not a fully developed, ready to go PCC program, not like NACO, not like BIBCO. Like this is we're very much starting it. So we are going to build it together, and we hope that one of the things that comes out of these communities is as much communication as possible. So here you will find a community to help you solve problems or get questions answered or experiment. And so that is something that we think is really exciting, but it's not going to happen without good communication. And so we'll talk more about some mechanisms for getting that communication going. One way to do communication, though, is maintain internal documentation. So there will be, you don't have access yet, but you will. There will be a Google Drive where this community will be doing some of their internal document editing, sharing. And so that is, oh, actually, okay, I did include this, sorry. Again, we're building as we're going. Literally 5 minutes ago, I was doing this. So to gain access to the Google Drive, we're asking folks to complete this ECMO-Other Registries CoP roster. I'm sorry, I'm going to put the agenda in the chat one more time just to make sure everybody can get to it who came in later. So at this link, you'll find a simple spreadsheet. It's just, you know, name, your email, and the date you added. So for the email, we highly recommend not using a email that's associated with an institution. The reason is people move from institution to institution. And when that happens, sometimes your Google account is deleted and all your documents are deleted. Therefore, PCC has lost documents because of this, and that is not great. So if you have sort of a personal to you email, but it's for professional work, that sounds great. I see a lot of people with Google addresses that, or like just their name or something, right? That sounds perfect. So anyway, it's not unallowed, but we prefer a not institutional account. We are going to expect the communities of practice to report some sort of statistics. More about that later. And we think that will be quarterly. Stay tuned. Again, we want these communities of practice aware of and adhering to the PCC Code of Conduct, which is linked several times in the agenda, and I think it's also linked above in the running meeting notes. And then documenting your entity management project. I just realized I didn't specify. So the community of practice as a whole is going to be generating a lot of documentation together, but I think what the PCC would like to see is what kind of projects happen in EMCO. And so it would be nice if folks wrote just a few sentences about the project that they do. There are lots of ways that could happen and be organized. In Wikidata, they have a totally different way that they do that through project pages and things. ISNI will probably have to make use of either their internal documentation, or maybe we put up a page on our sort of external facing PCC Wiki EMCO space to encapsulate the types of projects that are happening. But we think it's really useful, not just for EMCO and PCC to see what projects are happening, but for the broader library community, well, GLAM community really, we'll include archives and museums there, to see what's happening in identity management and entity management, because it is so new, and I think it's better to just share as much info about projects that are happening. So those are the expectations of all participants. Is there any questions about any of that before I move on to the coordinators? I'm hoping none of it's controversial. It's all pretty. I don't see any hands. Okay, I'm going to motor through the rest of this for the coordinators. So we wanted each community of practice to have a coordinator because we need the communities of practice talking to each other. So communication within the community of practice is important. And in fact, the registry coordinators are going to help make sure that that's possible. So facilitate communication within the community of practice and then across. So for this group, we imagine the others being in communication with, hey, the Wikidata people and the ISNI folks and the WorldCat entity folks, and what are you all doing? What problems are you running into? What tools are you building? You know, that cross community communication is just as important as what's happening in each community. I just saw a couple more people join us. I'm gonna throw the agenda in the chat. We're at 2B in the agenda. So in addition, the registry coordinators are going to be talking to IMAC, which is again the committee running EMCO. So the registry community coordinator does a lot of communication just within the group, across the groups, and then up to PCC proper. The coordinators will also have an obligation to at least make sure that meeting notes are taken and meetings are recorded. Again, the global nature of this program means that it's really hard for people to attend synchronously. That's hard even in one time zone. Well enough, all of them. So yes, making sure that the meetings are inclusive as they can be, and that sometimes does mean we have to record things or get meetings minutes set. And again, the work can be delegated. You don't have to do it yourself. But we want to make sure that it's at least happening and someone's in charge of making sure it happens. Collecting and reporting the statistics. So the idea would be that the registry coordinator kind of just compiles everything that the community did and then reports it to IMAC. We don't know what that looks like yet. More about that in a second. I already talked about the code of conduct, and then part of the communication piece we imagine, at least right now, is that the registry coordinators will be meeting with IMAC. We don't know how often, maybe at most quarterly, but maybe also triennially or something. So just to have that opportunity for some synchronous discussion of opportunities, problems, et cetera, that could be really useful in trying to push our entity management agenda forward. Registry coordinators will also have to, I didn't put this on here, but organize meetings, just sort of keep things going. And that can be challenging with the time zone issue, I'll just say. We've thought about it quite a bit in IMAC, so IMAC has some tools that could maybe help you if that was a concern, but okay, any questions about the coordinator role at this point?
There are about 8 of us participate in this meeting. I'm wondering how many registries are these people interested? Are we interested in?
Great question, Amanda.
Yeah. Thank you.
How about we put a pin in that and then we'll come back to it because I think we are going to talk about that later in the agenda. Excellent point. And also keep in mind the people who can't be here at this meeting. We don't know what they have in mind yet, and I'll talk more about how I expect to get that input a little bit later. Okay, coordinators. Any other questions about coordinators? They basically just keep the thing coasting along. IMAC, I'll just say that IMAC talked about the possibility of there being 2 coordinators, which we like that idea. I have a co-chair. I adore her, and it's so much nicer to have someone to share the load. Anyway, I thought it was a good idea to have at least 2, but if this group is going to be small, maybe 1 is fine. I don't know. We'll just have to see.
It depends on how many registries we're talking about.
It could. And it's not to say that registries won't peel off and become their own community. Like that's possible. We could see that happen. If enough people decided they want to create, I don't know, an ORCID community of practice. Like as long as there's 2 of you, 2 people, 2 institutions or 2 individuals, that could be a community. But maybe just 1 person, maybe not. Maybe they just have to stick with the other group for now. All right. I'm going to move on to deliverables so we can get to the fun discussion about, hey, what are you doing and what do you hope to do? So from this community of practice, the thing we really need, and we set a date of Friday, April 11th, is identifying who that registry coordinator is going to be. How you identify them and who they are, we're leaving completely up to the community of practice. I suspect this will be a smaller group, maybe the smallest. So maybe it doesn't need a big complicated solution. Wikidata, they're so big that they need to vote. Like they're gonna have like 5 of them. But that was for a much larger group. That group's probably 150 up to 170 people who are interested. So it's just gonna look different for every community, and that's fine. We were gonna just allow that flexibility. But at any rate, IMAC is happy to facilitate if, so for instance, for Wikidata, one of the IMAC members actually volunteered to help with polling to actually like put out a poll for people to vote. That's a big group. So anyway, if communities get really stuck, we will kind of step in and try to help, but we wanted the community to sort of figure it out for themselves. And maybe this question of how many registries are actually being engaged with in this particular community of the other. I don't know if that'll impact the number of coordinators. I'm not sure. That's something we'll have to figure out as we go.
We might need two as well.
Good. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So anyway, we're hoping by Friday, April 11th, we could have a couple names, or one, or at least one name, if not two. Excuse me. And then we're thinking in maybe a 3-month horizon, some sort of administrative tasks could also happen. We do need some way for the communities of practice to communicate. It could be a listserv, it could be Slack, it could be some people use Google Groups. I don't know, whatever it is you pick, that's up to the community. I think y'all are more than capable of picking out what you want to use and have preferences. So IMAC wasn't going to impose something. You could use the MCO listserv if that's made sense to you. That's probably still fine. But if you wanted something more specific, that's for the community to decide. You'll want to talk about how often this group should meet. Is it monthly? I think IMAC, when we were talking about this, we imagined that communities wouldn't want to meet any less frequently than monthly, because it's really easy to lose momentum, I guess. So if it comes less frequently than that, especially because this is so new. Eventually, and this is probably going to be the most challenging for this community, statistics. So because MCO encompasses so many different registries, IMAC, the PCC in general, just could not guess what would be useful to track. And so we need the communities to help us figure that out. That challenge is probably greatest for this community because there are so many different registries likely in play and what's useful to track. That may be a conversation. Maybe this community discusses it. Maybe IMAC visits your meeting and we discuss it together. I'm not sure, but we'll figure it out. And we hope that will happen in the first 3 months. And then anything you do beyond that is bonus. So actually talking about doing some other organizing around documenting the registries that are being used, who's using them, figuring out which projects are being attempted, and doing any. I wrote here in the notes an inventory. It's just an example, but maybe you could inventory type of documentation that's already available. That would also be super useful as a place to start and just see, hey, where are the gaps? What do people need? I think that's all useful in the first 3 months. And again, that last one, bonus. We have to get the other administrativa figured out first. Okay, so I flew through responsibilities, expectations, deliverables. Any questions about any of that? It's possible that once we started getting into discussing the work actually being done, some other questions came back to these, so we could also just move on in the agenda. Okay. Well, let's do that. So as a discussion topic, I suggested we chat about which registries everyone plans to use, or at least explore, maybe not use, but explore. That could be one way to sort of start chipping away at what this community is going to be. If you would all rather use this time to talk about something else, I'll step back and just get my popcorn out and let you all discuss amongst yourselves. But that was just one suggestion. We could chat about which registries you're using, and you're welcome to add it to the agenda if you wish. There's a place where you can list them under agenda item 4. Hey, Crystal.
Hi.
Hey, you joined for the fun part. I went through all the boring stuff. Yeah. So we're into discussing which registries folks are using. Oh, sorry. Did you want to introduce yourself? We all did that earlier, but.
Hi, I'm Crystal Uragi. I'm co-chairing IMAC right now. Apologies for being late. I had another meeting.
Okay. So I saw that. I bet this is Amanda. Amanda put in ROAR, the research
Yes.
organization registry. So that
Yeah.
I guess I knew about it from IMAC and you talking about it. But do you want to just
Yeah.
chat about what your dreams
Yeah.
are for ROAR?
Yeah. I'm working for USDA and I'm interested in affiliations also affiliated with USDA. So the organizations within USDA. And the first challenge I would like to do is to see if I can use machine learning and machine learning to match the affiliations in the source data to the raw registry to see how many of them can be matched, exactly match, or subunit match, to see the kind of matches I can get. For the USDA names, organization names. There are a lot of labs, programs. There are also other agencies, the small agencies, like ARS, Agriculture Research Service, has its raw ID, but all the subunit within ARS, they do not have raw ID. But I need first to do the match, and then if they don't have a match, I would apply for new names for the affiliations. So it's a big project. I probably don't have time until after June because I have to prepare another presentations on AI. So I'm planning after June, I will work on that. Yeah.
This is the point at which I will jump in and say that IMAC has no expectations for production in the sense that every other PCC program has an expectation for you will produce X records per year for BIBCO or NACO. There's none of that in NEMCO. So whenever you get started, it's great with us. We just want to see you participating in just try to, I don't know, attend the meetings, share ideas, share use cases. Those are really, even if you're not doing the thing, you could still share, hey, at my institution, this is the need we have, and I think this might work. That is super useful to the community to hear those. So wonderful. Thanks for sharing.
Thank you.
I'm seeing lots of archives love, archive space, and snack. Oh, snack. Yeah, social networks for archival context. It's been a minute since I looked at that. Is that it? Once described to me as Facebook for dead people. That stuck in my brain. So I see Josh, Isabella, and Tom. So
And just to, so we're semi-interested in, no one at my institution currently contributes to SNAC, but one of the things we're interested in is looking at how our entities are managed across our institution, which is multiple different ways, multiple different databases, et cetera, et cetera. And so we're trying to think through how we can use one registry more
yeah,
globally. And I think LCNAF is obviously the like traditional way of doing that. We have LCNAF authorities in our archive space. But there are some situations where that's not really the right way of doing things. And so SNAC, making use potentially with Wikidata information, is one way we're thinking about doing that. And then ORCID, which I also put in the thing, is another way we're thinking about doing that. But we don't have,
yeah,
well, anyway.
yeah, great. No, thanks for sharing, Josh. I see that people are just putting their names next to the registry or even archive space, I guess, is a product or a management product. So I think that's great. I think that helps you identify, you know, who your future buddies might be to work on things. I think that's a great idea and would encourage. Yeah, Mara.
Hi, I'm sorry. I think I have like maybe a problematically basic question.
Oh, no.
Just about what the deliverables look like across multiple, disparate repositories like this. Like when we talk about, like reading through the EMCO wiki, and I'm trying to really like wrap my head around what sort of work looks like, what work for this looks like. So like, for example, I have been, as I said, creating sort of tandem name authority records and Wikidata records. And, do these statistics look like, do the deliverables here look like, the creation of a set of best practices for how to line these things up? Do they look like a set of, a collection of statistics for how many, records were created that line up with each other? Does it look like, a set of proposals for how to include URIs in, in NARs? Like what does the work look like?
Mara, I wish I could pay you for asking that question. Maybe a coffee if we bump into each other later. This is great. So the answer is yes to all of it. Again, so it's called an early adopters phase because we literally have nothing right now. So we need documentation, we need best practices. We actually just need people to ask questions and then be willing to like hash it out and figure out what the options are. And then if you end up doing some Wikidata or some ISNI or something, also maybe report that too. So it's a yes to everything. And that is the reason we, as IMAC PCC, couldn't tell you what stats to report because we don't know yet. We don't know what's fair to ask for. We also don't know what your institutions need to know or find useful. Like maybe that would impact what you end up reporting to PCC. Maybe you just track it separately and report it to admin or include it in some sort of annual report. That's great. Do you have anything to add, Crystal? Or did I bungle anything?
Like I think the answer to all those questions is just like yes. And the deliverable for this early adopter phase for each registry, and I think we need to be clear about what a registry is too, because we have our different we have our different technologies that we're working in, right? We have OCLC, we have, you know, ALMA, we have archive space, we have different places. A registry is a thing that mints an identifier, right? It's a place where entities are being described and identified. So for each place or namespace where things are being described and identified, we need to build a program. And that program is the deliverable for this early adopter phase, I think. So we need to identify, you know, sort of a governance structure and a way for us to keep statistics, and all of that sort of you're asking about, sort of the development of that and best practices and ways to work together. So we're building this sort of intermediary layer between, we've got the PCC up here. We've got IMAC that's sort of communicating between EMCO and the PCC. And then we've got the, what do we call it? The coordination committee. I forget what.
No, it's so new. We haven't even named it yet.
A group of registry coordinators from each registry that deals with governance for EMCO and coordinates the work of the PCC in all these different registries so that they can talk to each other. And a good example that I can think of that is, you know, the NAR has O24s that link out to Wikidata, that link to SNAC, that link to VIAF, and all of those registries, they're interlinking with each other and they're talking to each other. And we have practices for that, but we haven't really figured out, you know, how not to duplicate work. What information we link to versus what information we don't link to, which registries we want to use, which registries we don't want to use. So negotiating that and figuring out how we want to do this interlinking and which work we replicate and which work we don't replicate. That's what that intermediary group we envision doing. How to kind of map between registries, because not everybody's definition of a person is the same as everyone else's definition of a person, right? So how do we crosswalk between our different registries? Those are the questions that we want EMCO to begin answering. So is that a good supplement, Jennifer?
Well, that was great. Yeah, thank you. I wrote down some of your questions in agenda number 6, just so that we can kind of keep track of it. And chat is being amazing right now. Hold on, let me go back up. So first thing, let me get back on my agenda. So Jamie, okay, ORCID. No one can edit ORCID except for the person whose ORCID it belongs to. That's true. So
yeah, I mean,
think
there's things you can do, like there's some affiliation stuff you can do institutionally, but generally that's correct.
Right, yes. So when people, but nonetheless, we had at least 5 people, if not more, say, I'm interested in ORCID. And so we're like, well, okay, we should welcome them into EMCO because maybe they will help us figure out some of these other questions that are lower down in the chat, like, hey, could Primo please handle an ORCID? Or maybe just sort of formalizing how we reference them. And I hear that many people are doing both an alternate registry and NACO. Well, like, can we make sure those O24s are in our NARs, or I don't know. So I feel like it's all, even if we can't do the edits ourselves or create the entity records statements ourselves, then that's still okay. We have to figure out how to use them, and that's a useful, extremely useful contribution to EMCO. That's really how we're gonna convince people that linked data is gonna work anyway. Like, we actually see it being used, right, and being useful for discovery. So that's just as important as, well, I did 20 Wikidata today. Like, no, what did you do with it, right? That's gonna be super important. Okay. Yep, more Libra.
Yeah, so we get into ORCID, you know, I did the investigation. Right now, I have a ticket with ex libris, and you know, we already have ORCID in our data, in the source data. We just need to make them visible in Primo VE. And I talked to university, I can't pronounce this university. I talked to the university library who put, who make their ORCID ID visible in Primo VE. And the display was like this. There are two entries for the author with ORCID ID. The first one is a search. The second one is ORCID. We have like 15 to 50 authors, and that would be hundreds of entries for the authors. So we can't choose that approach. We have to move it into one entry. Yeah, that's what I'm working with ex libris right now. Yeah.
We got to keep on them. That's for sure.
Yeah, just keep working on that. Yeah, that ticket is there.
Yeah, one of the things that we hope EMCO will eventually do is help the many mighty individual voices like Amanda's and others here turn into like a PCC voice, which PCC has a lot of sway, we hope. And given the scope of the PCC and how much more international it's becoming with EMCO, can you afford to keep ignoring us, vendors? No. So I don't know. We hope that will be persuasive.
I hope so. That's just NAO relationship with ex libris. So it's our case support.
Okay. Well, this is a living document, this agenda. If even a week from now you think, oh, I forgot to put down the thing I wanted to put in there, it's free. You can just throw your registry under discussion for discussion agenda item 4.
Did we decide whether the NAF is part of EMCO or if it should stay under NACO? We probably want, do we want to talk with LC about that? Or
I guess I want to know more about what the use case is. Yeah, I mean, because there's NACO for that.
Right, there's NACO for that. I'm wondering.
Yeah.
Because I think it was Kirk Hess who said like, oh, an obvious one is NACO. And I was like, well, there's already a whole program for that. And I don't know.
Right. And BibCo and Concert already know how to play with NACO and NAF. Yeah.
So, but we do need to integrate the NAF with other entities. So, but like dealing with it from an entity management point of view, nobody besides LC NetDev gets to do that.
That's right.
So
So one of the things we saw in that expression of interest form was people saying they want to use id.lsc.gov, which is not just LC NAF, it's a ton of other things too. But maybe that gets back to the people want to use ORCID. They just want to be able to use the registry. I'm not sure. We'd have to maybe just see what the use case is. Josh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think I was going to add what you two both just said, but I mean, I think we need, like, NAF needs to be part of the discussion because it needs to be part of how we're using a lot of these other registries, simply because of its universality, and the fact that it's integrated so deeply into particularly our bibliographic management systems. So I don't think we can like exclude NAF from what we're discussing, even though I don't think the primary registry perhaps is not what we're talking. The primary registry is not the NAF, but I think it's integral to like any recommendations, as you said, Jennifer, about like use of ORCID. A lot of those recommendations will involve integrating those identifiers into the NAF and things like that.
Yep, thank you. Amanda?
About NAF, they have NACO best practice for the field of 024, and that 024 already indicate how to record ORCID ID, you know, and other identifier. So, you know,
so if this group discovered a problem with that, there's probably not, but if we did,
I did.
We would be able, EMCO would be able to sort of raise those concerns up to PCC Policy Committee for them to send to Standing Committee on Standards or somebody to look at. So that's, they don't have to be set in stone, even though it's a NACO policy, EMCO can still ask questions innocently and provide use cases where maybe we should rethink this in light of, we know so much more about linked data now.
Or maybe since there are people in EMCO who are also decision makers in NACO, maybe we do have a liaison group for NACO.
We could. Yeah, enough of us do it. I mean, there's so much crossover. Yeah,
we should ask.
Good questions. Do you have another question, Amanda, or is that an old?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I just want to let you know, I already discovered the problem in BibFrame. BibFrame, for instance, for identifier, there is a type, but there is no type for raw ID. I can't remember if there's a identify type for ORCID or not in the BibFrame. Sorry, the raw ID and ORCID ID, we recorded in the bib, because it's impossible for us to create authority record for all the organizations inside USDA. So we recorded in the bib. Yeah, so that's our workaround, I guess. So I'm sorry, I'm confused. Yeah, but in BibFrame identifier, I can't find the identifier type for ORCID and
yeah.
raw.
So so this might be an interesting Mara did already leave, goodbye. This might be an interesting question to circulate to a group like this, to see, you know, hey, what are you also seeing this? Okay, I'm gonna move us along though. I'm sorry to cut off conversation. It's just when it's getting good. We need to wrap this up. So the action item is we need a registry coordinator. We are give us your links. We are happy to help facilitate that, but it's not our decision. We want to truly make that the community's decision. So if we don't hear, we are going to poke. Oh, the other thing I forgot to say, the meeting's being recorded. I promised this would be up for 10 days before we made any real like lasting decisions, because again, a lot of people couldn't make this meeting. It's a global initiative and we need to give folks on the other hemisphere a chance to watch the recording. If you'll notice, if you scroll down a little bit below the action items and items for the next agenda meeting, asynchronous comments on the March 25th recording, etc. So this is a space where people who couldn't attend could perhaps react to the recording or something they saw in the notes. We didn't know how to make this inclusive for asynchronous people. This is our attempt. We would love to see other solutions as we go forward, but this is what we have now. So, am I forgetting anything about next steps? Still, I think that's the important thing.
The registry coordinators are responsible for scheduling the next meeting.
Yes. Okay. Through that. Okay. Well, if there is nothing else, I'm super excited. There's some big momentum in the other groups because there's already a community for, say, Wikidata. But I was most excited about this group because it seems like there are endless possibilities here. And so I'm so jazzed for this to see how it goes. So you're welcome to, I'm going to point your attention to the very top of this document, share feedback about EMCO. That link comes to me, my inbox. I'm good about usually within 24 hours responding. So if you have any questions about anything, if you're having trouble with something, please let us know. Okay, great. I will be sending out recordings, etc. to the listserv soon. Thank you, everybody. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Take care.